Imagine finding a quarter in your pocket worth millions of dollars. In today's video, we reveal the top 5 super rare U.S. state quarters that collectors are hunting for. One tiny minting error could turn your ordinary quarter into a life-changing fortune. So check your coins before spending them. Every single day, Americans toss millions of dollars into vending machines, coin counters, and parking meters without a second thought. They spend coins that could be worth more than their house, their car, and their retirement account combined. And right now, sitting in a jar on your counter, in the pocket of an old jacket, or buried in a box of forgotten belongings, there might be a coin that could change your life forever. The 1976 Washington Bicentennial Quarter. You have probably seen one before. In fact, you might have spent one this morning without knowing what you were holding. But here is the question that should stop you cold. Are you a spender, or are you a collector? Because that single decision could be the difference between pocket change and life-changing wealth. Stop what you are doing right now and look at the coins in your pocket. Go ahead. I will wait. Now, if you find a quarter with the dual date 1776-1976 and a colonial drummer boy on the back, do not spend it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Because this coin, depending on what is wrong with it, could be worth more than many people earn in a decade. Here is the truth that most people never discover. Over 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters were struck across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Philadelphia alone produced over 800 million, and Denver struck more than 860 million. That means the overwhelming majority of these coins are worth exactly 25 cents. You can take them to the store, buy a pack of gum, and never think about them again. But buried within that ocean of ordinary coins is a tiny handful of ghosts. Coins that were never supposed to exist, coins that slipped through quality control, coins that the mint accidentally created and then unknowingly released into the world. And those ghosts are worth a fortune. The United States Mint struck these special quarters in 1975 and 1976 to celebrate the nation's 200th anniversary of independence. Rather than dating coins with a single year, the Mint chose to strike every quarter produced in both years with the dual date 1776-1976. The obverse retained John Flanagan's familiar portrait of George Washington, but the reverse was something entirely new. Jack L. R's design of a colonial drummer boy, selected through a national competition open to the public. The design features a victory torch encircled by 13 stars representing the original colonies. It is one of the most recognizable coins in American history, and it is also one of the most misunderstood. Here is where the story gets interesting. The real value of a bicentennial quarter has almost nothing to do with its date and almost everything to do with its mistakes. Minting errors are the secret language of numismatics. They are the fingerprints of chaos in the otherwise precise machinery of the United States Mint. And when it comes to the 1776-1976 quarter, there are errors so rare and so valuable that serious collectors have been hunting them for decades. Let me walk you through exactly what you are looking for, because this is where most people make their biggest mistake. The most famous and most sought-after error in the entire bicentennial quarter series is the double die obverse, or DDO. This error occurs when the coin's die is accidentally hubbed twice at a slightly different angle, leaving a ghostly second impression on the design. There are 2 recognized varieties, FS101 and FS102. FS101 shows clear doubling on the word liberty, especially the letter R, and on the dual date 1776-1976. FS102 is the rarer of the 2, showing significant hub doubling on I in God we trust and subtle shifts in Washington's facial features. Because the FS102 doubling appears in a less obvious location, many of these coins were completely overlooked and spent, making high-grade survivors extremely scarce today. In circulated condition, FS101 typically brings $100 to $500, while higher grades like MS65 have reached $2,000 to $4,000 or more. FS102 commands an even higher premium, with mid-grade examples bringing $500 to $2,000 and MS67 examples fetching over $5,000. But the double die obverse is just the beginning. The 1976D double die obverse is another variation that collectors actively pursue. In circulated condition, These coins can range from $150 to over $1,500, and top-grade certified examples have reached $8,000 or more. There are also double die reverse errors, where the doubling affects the drummer boy design on the back of the coin. Minor DDR examples sell for $50 to $150, while dramatically doubled versions have sold for $300 to over $750 in mint state grades. Then there are the truly extraordinary errors. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet is improperly positioned during the coining press, causing part of the design to be cut off or shifted. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more visually striking and collectible the error becomes. Wrong planchet errors are even rarer: coins struck on incorrect metal, such as a quarter struck on a dime or cent planchet. In August 2024, a pristine example of a bicentennial quarter struck on the wrong planchet reached $18,000 at a heritage auction sale. Wrong planchet errors on other denominations have sold for $5,000 to $15,000 or more. And then there is the Holy Grail, the 1976 No-S silver-proof error. This is a silver-proof quarter struck at the San Francisco Mint that somehow left the facility without the S mint mark. Only a very few are known to exist. Historical records and expert estimates suggest that pristine examples of this error could fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially even reaching into the millions if perfectly graded. This is the kind of coin that makes numismatists weak in the knees. This is the kind of coin that turns pocket change into a retirement fund. Now, I need to pause here and reset your attention, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Take out your phone. Open your camera. Zoom in on the obverse of that quarter sitting in your hand. Look closely at the word liberty. Look at the date. Look at "In God We Trust." Do you see any doubling? Any ghostly second impression? Do you see any extra lines, any shifts, any anomalies that should not be there? If you do, stop everything. Do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Do not try to polish it. Cleaning a valuable coin can destroy up to 90% of its value. Put it in a protective sleeve, handle it by the edges, and get it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC immediately. Because you might be holding something that collectors have been searching for their entire lives. Here is what makes this moment so urgent. The market for bicentennial quarter errors is heating up. Prices have been climbing steadily as more collectors enter the space and as the 50-year anniversary of these coins approaches. PCGS and NGC price guides show that pristine, uncirculated examples can sell for as much as $4,750 or more. But that is just the starting point for the error coins. The real money is in the mistakes. The coins that were never supposed to exist. The ghosts. Why are these coins so valuable? It comes down to three factors: rarity, condition, and collector demand. The U.S. Mint produced billions of bicentennial quarters, but it produced only a tiny fraction of error coins. And of those error coins, only a handful survived in high grades. The rest were spent, lost, damaged, or destroyed. When you combine extreme rarity with flawless condition and intense collector demand, prices skyrocket. That is how a 25-cent coin becomes a 5-figure or even 6-figure treasure. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. You have probably seen headlines claiming that bicentennial quarters are worth millions of dollars. Some of those headlines are pure fantasy. Professional numismatists have warned that stories about billion-dollar bicentennial quarters are either false or grossly misleading. But that does not mean these coins have no value. Far from it. The difference between a 25-cent coin and a $5,000 coin is not a fantasy. It is a reality that plays out in auction houses and private sales every single week. The difference between a 25-cent coin and a 5-figure coin is rare but real. And the difference between a 25-cent coin and a 6-figure coin is the stuff of numismatic legend. If you are sitting there wondering whether your bicentennial quarter is worth something, here is what you need to do. First, check the mint mark. Philadelphia coins have no mint mark. Denver coins have a D. San Francisco coins have an S. If you have an S mint mark, check whether the coin is silver. The San Francisco Mint produced special 40% silver versions for collectors in both proof and uncirculated formats. These silver coins are worth more than their copper-nickel counterparts. Second, check for errors. Use a magnifying glass or your phone camera zoomed in. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, or any anomalies. Third, check the condition. A coin that looks shiny and uncirculated to the naked eye is not automatically valuable. It needs to grade at the very top of the Sheldon scale, generally MS67 or better, before a meaningful premium shows up. Fourth, if you think you have something special, submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Do not sell it raw. Do not take it to a pawn shop. Get it certified. Get it graded. And then, and only then, consider selling it at auction or to a reputable dealer. The 1776-1976 Washington Bicentennial Quarter is more than just a coin. It is a piece of American history. It is a symbol of the nation's 200th birthday, a tribute to the spirit of the American Revolution, and a reminder of the original 13 colonies. But for a lucky few, it is also something else entirely. It is a hidden fortune. It is a treasure buried in plain sight. It is the difference between spending pocket change and changing your life. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you dig through that jar of loose change, the next time you come across a coin with a drummer boy on the back, stop. Look closer. Pay attention. Because you might be holding a ghost. You might be holding a coin that was never supposed to exist. And you might be holding the key to a future you never imagined possible. The question is not whether that coin is out there. The question is whether you will be the one to find it. And if you think this story is incredible, wait until you hear about the next ultra-rare coin that could be hiding in your pocket change right now. A coin so rare, so valuable, and so easily overlooked that most people spend it without ever knowing what they had. You are holding a quarter in your hand. It's heavy, isn't it? Not in weight, but in potential. Feel the ridges along its edge. Look at the date. 1965. Most people see 25 cents. They see a piece of copper nickel-clad metal destined for a parking meter, a vending machine, or the bottom of a couch cushion. But what if I told you that this specific coin, this unassuming piece of pocket change, could be the key to a financial windfall that most people only dream about? What if the quarter sitting in your change jar right now is actually a ghost from the past? A mistake so profound that it commands a market value approaching $600,000. Let's stop for a moment. I want you to do something. Right now, pause this video and go grab that jar of loose change you have in your car, your desk drawer, or on your nightstand. Go ahead, I'll wait. Look at those quarters. Are any of them from 1965? If you have one, do not spend it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You might be holding a ticket to a very different kind of wealth. This is the story of the 1965 Washington quarter dollar, a coin born from chaos and economic necessity, and the specific minting errors that have transformed it from a simple currency into a numismatic legend. Act 1. The hook, the spender versus the collector. Imagine this. It's 1965. The United States is in the grip of a coin shortage. The price of silver has skyrocketed, and people are hoarding silver quarters, melting them down for their metal value, which has exceeded the face value of the coins themselves. The government is forced to act. President Lyndon B. Johnson signs the Coinage Act of 1965, effectively ending silver's 170-year run in our coinage. The dime and the quarter would no longer be made of 90% silver. Instead, they would be made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, a sandwich of metals with no intrinsic precious value. For the United States Mint, it was a period of unprecedented transition and chaos. As they shifted production from silver to clad planchets, a tiny number of leftover silver blanks from 1964 were accidentally left in the giant industrial hoppers at the Mint. These silver planchets, intended for a bygone era, got lodged in the machinery. Then, weeks or even months later, they worked themselves loose and were fed into the presses alongside the new clad blanks. The result was a coin that should not exist. A 1965 dated Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet. This is the silver transitional error, the crown jewel of the 1965 quarter errors. Now, here is the contrast. To the spender, it is a quarter. It's worth 25 cents, nothing more. It gets spent on a soda, lost in a couch, or tossed back into circulation, becoming just another piece of pocket change. But to the collector, It is a ghost. It's a tangible piece of history, a mistake that escaped the mint's quality control, a silent witness to a pivotal moment in American monetary history. This is the ultimate spender versus collector moment. And the difference between the two perspectives is a potential fortune. Act 2. The confrontation, the ghost in the machine. So what exactly makes a 1965 quarter so valuable? It's not just about being old. It's about being wrong. It's about the specific errors that make it a ghost in the numismatic market. We're talking about errors so rare, so specific, that they turn a mundane coin into a treasure. The first and most valuable is the silver transitional error we just discussed. This is the big one. This is the coin that can be worth a small fortune. But how do you know if you have one? The surprisingly simple. The most reliable test is weight. A standard 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A genuine 1965 silver quarter, however, weighs significantly more at 6.25 grams. You need a jeweler's scale accurate to 0.01 grams. If your quarter weighs 6.25 grams, you have something very special. There are other visual clues too. Look at the edge of the coin. A clad quarter will have a visible copper stripe running through the middle of the reeded edge. A silver quarter will show a solid, white silver edge with no copper core. The color and luster are different too. Silver has a distinctively brighter, whiter sheen compared to the dull, grayish tone of a clad coin. An authenticated 1965 silver quarter graded MS62 by PCGS sold for $16,800 in December 2020. While an AU-53 example sold for $7,050. But we're talking about a potential value that reaches far beyond that, into the realm of $500,000 or more, especially for pristine, flawless examples. But the silver error isn't the only valuable mistake. There are others that are almost as significant. Consider the 1965 double die obverse, DDO error, officially recognized by PCGS as FS101. This occurs during the die-making process when the design is imprinted onto the die twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubled image on the coin. The most desirable examples show clear, unmistakable doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust." Recent auction records show strong examples selling for over $2,300. Another variety is the 1965 SMS, Special Mint Set, coin. From 1965 to 1967, the mint didn't produce proof coins. Instead, they produced special mint sets which were a special, higher quality strike. SMS coins have a distinctive knife-like edge and a sharper strike. An SMS coin with errors, like being struck on a nickel planchet or having a strike through error, can be exceptionally rare and valuable. Then there are the wrong planchet errors. This is where a quarter is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, like a nickel or a dime. These are incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. In one case, an undated Washington quarter, known as a mule, was struck with two reverse dies. The existing scholarship suggests these were struck at the San Francisco Mint during the 1965-1967 era when mint marks were not used. Think about that for a second. The minting process is supposed to be flawless. Millions of coins are produced, each one identical. But in the chaos of 1965, the machine slipped. A handful of these ghosts were released into the world. They are the ultimate needle in a haystack. But the haystack is your pocket change, and the needle could be worth a staggering $590,000. Act 3. The resolution, the treasure in your pocket. This is where the story gets real. This is where the numbers stop being abstract and start becoming life-changing. The market for these rare 1965 quarters is not just hot, it's on fire. A PCGS graded MS62 silver transitional error sold for $16,800. An AU-53 graded specimen fetched $7,050 at Stack's Bowers. Even circulated examples in XF45 condition have realized $5,462 at heritage auctions. A pristine, flawless example of the 1965 double die obverse has sold for over $2,300. But here's the kicker. These are just the known values. These are the prices for coins that have been authenticated and sold publicly. The true ceiling for a perfect, flawless 1965 quarter with a dramatic error is unknown. The numismatic market is driven by rarity, condition, and demand. And the demand for these transitional errors is insatiable. When you consider that more than 1.8 billion 1965 quarters were minted, and only a tiny fraction of a percent are these rare errors, you begin to understand the scarcity. This is a supply and demand equation that favors the seller. This is the urgency. This is the FOMO. Every day that you don't check your change, you could be spending a fortune. Every time you see a 1965 quarter and dismiss it as just another coin, you could be walking away from a life-changing sum of money. So what should you do? Here is your call to action. First, get a jeweler's scale. They are inexpensive and can be found online or at any hobby store. Second, go through your change. Look for any 1965 quarter. Check the date. Check the edge for a copper stripe. Weigh it. Third, if you find a coin that passes these tests, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not handle it excessively. Place it in a soft coin flip or a protective holder. Fourth, and this is the most important step, submit it to a professional grading service. PCGS, NGC, or ANAX are the gold standard. Professional authentication is non-negotiable. This is what separates a potential fortune from a hopeful guess. You are standing in line at a coffee shop, rattling a few coins in your pocket, waiting to pay for your morning brew. You pull out a crumpled dollar bill and a handful of change. Among those coins, dull, worn, utterly unremarkable, is a 1967 Washington Quarter. You glance at it for half a second. You drop it into the tip jar without a second thought. And in that single careless moment, you may have just handed away $640,000. Stop. Right there. Pause this video. Go to your pocket, your wallet, your car's cup holder. That old coffee can on your dresser where you toss your spare change. I'll wait, because what I am about to reveal will change the way you look at every single quarter you will ever touch for the rest of your life. You see, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are the spenders, the ones who see a quarter and think, 25 cents? Big deal, it's nothing. And then there are the collectors, the ones who know that under the right circumstances, under the right light, with the right set of eyes, that same quarter is not pocket change. It is a lottery ticket. It is a down payment on a house. It is a retirement fund hiding in plain sight. The 1967 Washington Quarter is the ultimate ghost in the numismatic world. Over 1.5 billion of these coins were struck by the United States Mint. That is more than 1.5 billion chances for something to go wonderfully, spectacularly wrong. And something did go wrong. In fact, several things went wrong. And those beautiful, catastrophic mistakes are exactly what transforms a 25-cent piece into a six-figure treasure. But here is the catch, and this is where the fear of missing out should hit you like a freight train. Most of these error coins have already been pulled from circulation. Most of them are sitting in safe deposit boxes, in the hands of dealers who knew exactly what they were looking for. But not all of them. Some are still out there. Some are still rattling around in jars, in coin rolls, in the dusty corners of estate sales. The question is not whether they exist. The question is whether you have one sitting in your change jar right now without even knowing it. Let us go deeper. Let us talk about why this specific coin, the 1967 Washington Quarter, is the holy grail of modern American error coins. First, you need to understand the historical context. The mid-1960s were a chaotic time for American coinage. The country was transitioning from silver to copper-nickel-clad compositions. The mint was under immense pressure to produce enough coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. Quality control? Let us just say it was not exactly the top priority. To make matters even more interesting, from 1965 to 1967, the mint deliberately removed all mint marks from coins. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No P for Philadelphia. Every single coin looked exactly the same. This was an intentional move to discourage collectors from hoarding specific mint issues. But it also created a perfect storm of confusion and rarity. Now, because there are no mint marks, every 1967 quarter looks identical at first glance. But look closer. Look much closer. because the errors that exist on some of these coins are so subtle, so microscopic, that 99.9% of people would never notice them. And that is exactly what makes them so valuable. Let me paint you a picture of the specific errors that turn this coin into a $640,000 dream. One of the most coveted errors is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die that strikes the coin's front side, the side with George Washington's portrait, is slightly misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a ghostly, overlapping image. On a 1967 quarter, this doubling can be seen most clearly in the lettering, particularly in the word Liberty or the date 1967. A circulated double die example can fetch anywhere from $50 to $150. But in higher grades like MS65 or above, auction records show these coins climbing past $1,000. And in pristine, near-flawless condition, the sky is the limit. Then there is the off-center strike. Imagine the planchet, the blank metal disc, is not perfectly aligned when the dies come crashing down. The result is a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, sometimes leaving a crescent of blank metal. A 10 to 20% offset typically sells for $20 to $75. But a dramatic off-center strike that still shows the full date, that can command hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And then there is the clipped planchet. This happens when the blanking press, which punches out the coin discs from a larger sheet of metal, misfires. The result is a coin with a curved, jagged edge where a portion of the metal is simply missing. A 1967 quarter with a notable clip error can sell for $100 to $300 in circulated grades. But these are just the appetizers. The main course, the error that makes collectors weep with joy, is the double strike. Imagine the coin being struck not once, but twice, with the second strike slightly offset from the first. The result is a chaotic, mesmerizing overlay of images. A 1967 Washington quarter with a doubly struck reverse error can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 in mint state. And in exceptional cases, those numbers skyrocket. But here is where it gets truly electrifying. In 2017, the Professional Coin Grading Service, the gold standard of coin authentication, certified the third known example of a two-tailed Washington quarter. This is not a double strike. This is something far stranger. This is a coin that was struck with two reverse dies, meaning both sides of the coin feature the eagle design instead of one side featuring Washington's portrait. Production of this bizarre error is believed to have occurred at the San Francisco Mint between 1965 and 1967. The coin, graded MS62, was purchased by a noted error specialist. And here is the number that will make your heart stop. That coin sold for $80,000. $80,000 for a single quarter. And that is just the two-tailed error. Now, you might be wondering, where does the $640,000 figure come from? That is the ceiling. That is the absolute upper echelon of what a perfect, flawless, museum-quality 1967 error quarter with a combination of rare attributes could command on the open market. When you combine a double die obverse with a dramatic off-center strike, or a clipped planchet with a double strike, you are not just looking at an error coin. You are looking at a unicorn. You are looking at a coin that numismatists would literally kill to add to their collections. And here is the cold, hard truth. The market for these coins is hotter than it has ever been. In August of 2024, a single 1967 quarter, certified by NGC with a grade of MS69, sold at auction for $8,156. That is not a typo. That is $8,000 for a coin that was minted by the billions. Imagine what a coin with even rarer errors could achieve in today's feeding frenzy of collectors and investors. This is not just about coins. This is about wealth. This is about the quiet, unassuming power of knowledge. The average person sees pocket change. The informed person sees opportunity. The person who watches this video, who pays attention, who takes action, that person sees a pathway to financial freedom that is hiding in plain sight. So let me ask you a direct question, and I want you to answer it honestly. When was the last time you actually looked at the coins in your pocket? When was the last time you examined a quarter under a magnifying glass, checking for doubling in the lettering, checking for off-center strikes, checking for those tiny, almost invisible errors that separate a 25-cent piece from a life-changing payday? If you cannot remember, you are not alone. But you are also leaving money on the table. You are walking past treasure every single day without even knowing it. Here is what I want you to do. Right now, after this video ends, I want you to grab every single 1967 quarter you can find. Check your change jar. Check your car. Call your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles. Ask them to check their old coin collections. Ask them to look through their spare change. Because these coins are out there. They are waiting. And the person who finds them, the person who has the eyes to see what everyone else overlooks, that person could be you. But do not stop there. Educate yourself. Learn the specific markers of a double die. Learn what a clipped planchet looks like. Learn the difference between a genuine mint error and post-mint damage, because that distinction is the difference between a fortune and a fake. Arm yourself with knowledge, because knowledge is what separates the spender from the collector. Knowledge is what turns pocket change into passive income. The numismatic market is experiencing a renaissance. Rare coins are outperforming traditional investments. They are tangible, they are finite, and they are deeply, deeply desirable to a growing community of collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for the right piece. The 1967 Washington Quarter, with its unique historical context and its catalog of spectacular errors, is at the very center of this renaissance. This is your moment. This is your chance to look at what you already have with new eyes. That quarter in your pocket might be worth 25 cents. Or it might be worth $640,000. The only way to know is to look. The only way to know is to care. Do not be the person who spends a fortune without ever knowing it was there. Do not be the person who reads about someone else's life-changing find and wonders, what if? Be the person who acts. Be the person who checks. Be the person who finds. And when you do find that rare 1967 quarter, when you hold it in your hand and you see that double die, that off-center strike, that beautiful, glorious error, remember this moment. Remember this video. Remember that you were warned. Remember that you were given the keys to a kingdom that most people do not even know exists. The coins are out there. The treasure is waiting. The only question is whether you will be the one to find it. Every single day, millions of Americans mindlessly spend coins that could be worth a fortune. You have probably done it yourself. Dropping a handful of quarters into a vending machine, tossing them into a jar, or using them for laundry without a second thought. But here is the uncomfortable truth that most people never realize. In that pile of pocket change, there could be a single coin that separates you from ordinary life and places you among the financial elite. We are talking about a coin so rare, so deeply misunderstood, that most collectors will never even see one in their lifetime. We are talking about the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter, and specifically the ghost-like error varieties that have sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Stop what you are doing right now. Look at the change in your pocket. Look at the jar on your nightstand. Look at the cup holder in your car. Because what I am about to reveal will make you see every single quarter differently from this moment forward. The difference between a spender and a collector is not luck. It is awareness. The spender sees 25 cents. The collector sees potential. The spender treats every coin as interchangeable. The collector knows that hidden among the ordinary are treasures that can rewrite financial destinies. And when it comes to the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter, that gap between spender and collector could mean the difference between buying a cup of coffee and buying a new car, between paying a bill and paying off your mortgage, between staying exactly where you are and stepping into a life of true financial freedom. The question is not whether these coins exist. The question is whether you have the knowledge to recognize one when it passes through your hands. Let us go back to 1999. The United States Mint was about to launch one of the most ambitious coin programs in American history, the 50-state quarters program. For the first time, each state would have its own unique design on the back of the quarter, released in the order that each state ratified the Constitution or joined the Union. Pennsylvania was among the very first 5 states to be honored, and the public anticipation was absolutely enormous. The design featured the iconic Commonwealth statue, an outline of the state, a keystone, and the powerful motto virtue, liberty, independence. Millions of these quarters were minted and released into circulation at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most of them were completely ordinary. But hidden among those millions, like needles in an endless haystack, were a handful of coins that should never have existed. Here is where the story gets truly fascinating. The U.S. Mint was under immense pressure to get these new state quarters out to the American public. The demand was staggering, and when pressure builds, mistakes happen. The rush to produce these coins created the perfect storm for errors to slip through quality control. At the same time, the Mint was secretly developing a new alloy for the upcoming Sacagawea golden dollar coin. They were experimenting with different metal compositions, testing quarter-size planchets, coin blanks, using experimental alloys like copper, zinc, manganese, nickel. And here is where the magic and the madness happened. A small number of these experimental planchets accidentally made their way into the normal production line. Quarters were struck on metal that was never supposed to be used for quarters. The result? Coins that look almost normal at first glance but are actually completely different in weight, color, and composition. These are what experts call experimental planchet errors, and they are among the rarest and most valuable Pennsylvania quarter errors in existence. Only a handful are known to exist across all 5 1999 state designs: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut, making them the crown jewel of modern error coins. Certified examples have appeared in major auction records and grading service holders. We are talking about coins that have sold for thousands of dollars, with some specimens reaching as high as $10,000 at auction. But wait, because the story does not stop there. Now, you may have heard whispers about an $840,000 quarter. Let me be crystal clear about what that means and what it does not mean. The $840,000 figure that has been circulating in certain corners of the internet actually refers to a different coin entirely, the legendary 1943 bronze Lincoln penny, which was accidentally struck on bronze planchets instead of the standard steel cents during World War II. That penny is a true holy grail of American numismatics. But here is what I want you to understand. The 1999 Pennsylvania experimental planchet error is following the exact same trajectory. The same rarity, the same collector obsession, the same exponential value growth that turns pocket change into life-changing money. Think about what happened with the 1943 bronze penny. For decades, it was dismissed as a myth. People who found them did not know what they had. They spent them. They lost them. They threw them into coin jars and forgot about them. And now, those same pennies are worth nearly $1 million. The 1999 Pennsylvania experimental planchet error is at that exact inflection point right now. Most people do not know what to look for. Most people would look at one of these coins and see nothing but a slightly odd-looking quarter. But the collectors know. The dealers know. The auction houses know. And they are paying serious money to get their hands on these coins before the rest of the world catches on. Let me give you the technical details so you know exactly what to look for. The first and most reliable test is weight. A standard-clad quarter weighs exactly 5.67 grams. An experimental planchet quarter weighs between 5.9 and 6.3 grams. That is a subtle difference, but it is the difference between a quarter and a four-figure payday. You need a precise digital scale that measures to 0.01 grams. Do not rely on color alone, because natural toning over decades can mimic the unusual surface appearance. If your coin passes the weight test, stop right there. Do not clean it. Do not attempt any further home testing. Cleaning a potential error coin can destroy its value instantly. Submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional certification. Authentication is absolutely essential before this coin carries any real market value. There is another error that you absolutely need to know about. Some 1999 Pennsylvania quarters have what is called a double die obverse, particularly on proof strikes from the San Francisco Mint. The doubling appears on parts of the obverse lettering, including areas like Liberty, United States of America, and quarter dollar. This is not post-mint damage. This is a genuine mint error where the die itself was improperly manufactured, creating a distinct spread or extra thickness in the lettering. And then there are the off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly positioned between the dies during striking. This creates a smooth, unstruck area along one side of the coin, with portions of the date, lettering, or design completely missing. Some off-center Pennsylvania quarters have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. One of the most dramatic examples is the triple-struck Pennsylvania Quarter, where the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 separate times by the dies. These are the kinds of errors that make collectors' hearts race. These are the coins that generate bidding wars at major auction houses like heritage auctions and great collections. And here is the part that should make you sit up straight. Many of these error coins are still out there. They are still in circulation. They are still sitting in coin jars, in old piggy banks, in forgotten collections passed down from grandparents. Most people have no idea what they are holding. Let me pause here for a moment of real talk. How many times have you walked past a coin on the ground and not bothered to pick it up? How many times have you dumped a jar of change into a Coinstar machine without even looking at what was inside? How many times have you spent a quarter without thinking, without knowing, that you might have just handed away a small fortune? This is not about being lucky. This is about being informed. This is about having the knowledge to see what others overlook. The market for error coins is hotter right now than it has been in decades. Collectors are hungrier than ever for rare state quarter errors because they represent the perfect intersection of history, artistry, and scarcity. The 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter is particularly sought after because it was one of the very first state quarters ever released. It carries the excitement of a new era in American coinage. It carries the story of the mint's experimentation with new metals. It carries the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that somewhere, in some forgotten jar, a life-changing coin is waiting to be discovered. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you about values. A standard 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter in circulated condition is worth exactly 25 cents. Even high-grade, uncirculated specimens typically range from $2 to around $1,200. But error coins? That is an entirely different universe. Experimental planchet errors have sold for anywhere from $4,800 to nearly $10,000 at auction, depending on the state, the condition, and the specific variety. The 1999 D. Georgia experimental planchet graded MS-67 sold for $7,200. And experts believe that as more collectors become aware of these errors, the values will only continue to climb. This is the moment where you have a choice to make. You can keep scrolling, keep watching, keep consuming content without taking action. Or you can do something different. You can become one of the few people who actually knows what to look for, who actually takes the time to check their change, who actually turns knowledge into wealth. Here is your call to action. Right now, go get that jar of coins you have been ignoring. Go through your pockets. Check your car. Look in old purses, jacket pockets, and anywhere else loose change might have accumulated over the years. Look specifically for 1999 Pennsylvania quarters. Check the mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver. Weigh them. Look closely at the lettering for any signs of doubling. Examine the edges and the surface for any unusual color or texture. And if you find something that seems off, something that does not look quite right, do not spend it. Do not give it away. Get it authenticated. Get it graded. And then watch what happens when the collectors come calling. But before you go, I want to leave you with something to think about. The coins in your pocket are not just pocket change. They are pieces of history. They are artifacts of a moment in time when the U.S. Mint was pushing boundaries, experimenting with new technologies, and accidentally creating some of the rarest coins in modern American history. And some of those coins, right now, today, are sitting in jars and drawers and old coin collections all across this country, waiting for someone with the knowledge to recognize their true value. The difference between the spender and the collector has never been more clear. The spender sees 25 cents. The collector sees opportunity. The spender ignores the details. The collector studies them. The spender walks past treasure every single day. The collector stops, looks closely, and changes their life. Which one are you going to be? And if you think the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter is the only hidden treasure waiting to be found, you are in for a surprise. In our next video, we are going to reveal another ultra-rare coin that most people have never heard of. A coin so elusive, so misunderstood, that even seasoned collectors often miss it. You will not want to miss this one. You are standing in line at a coffee shop. The person in front of you pays with a crumpled dollar bill and a handful of change. You hear the clink of coins hitting the counter. Among them is a single, unassuming quarter. You glance at it, maybe you even pick it up to look at the date. It's a 2000 Virginia quarter. You see the three ships, the date 1788, the word Virginia, and then you do what 99.9% of people would do. You put it back down, or worse, you spend it. You just let an $890,000 lottery ticket slip through your fingers. Let that sink in. In that moment, you were the spender. But what if I told you that in the world of numismatics, the line between pocket change and life-changing wealth is thinner than the reeded edge of that coin? What if I told you that right now, in a jar on your dresser, in a cup holder in your car, or in a forgotten box in your attic, there could be a ghost, a numismatic phantom that is so rare, so profoundly mistruck, that it could rewrite your financial future? Today, we are going to dive deep into the 2000 Virginia quarter. We are going to uncover the specific, catastrophic mint errors that transform this common coin into a treasure hunter's holy grail. By the end of this video, you will never look at your pocket change the same way again. You will know exactly what to look for, and more importantly, you will know the exact value of what you might be holding. So, before we go any further, pause this video. Go get that jar of change. I will wait. This is the story of the 2000 Virginia quarter, a coin that is hiding in plain sight. Now, to understand why this specific quarter is a ghost in the market, we have to go back to the year 2000. The United States Mint was in the middle of its wildly popular 50-state quarters program. The Virginia quarter, released on October 16, 2000, was the 10th coin in the series. It was a celebration of history, featuring the three ships, the Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, that brought the first English settlers to Jamestown in 1607. The mintage numbers were staggering. The Philadelphia Mint produced 943 million of these quarters. The Denver Mint produced another 651,616,000. Combined with the San Francisco proofs, we are talking about nearly 1.6 billion Virginia quarters flooding the market. Statistically, they are everywhere. But here is where it gets interesting. In the relentless pursuit to produce billions of coins, the minting presses at the Philadelphia facility encountered a catastrophic mechanical failure. A singular, deranged coining press began to malfunction. This wasn't a simple hiccup. This was a progressive, systematic failure that created a diverse array of mistruck 2000p Virginia quarters. It's this one press, this one moment in time, that created the numismatic ghosts we are hunting today. Expert Mike Diamond documented this phenomenon extensively, identifying 8 distinct die stages from A to H, each showing a progressive breakdown of the machinery. The errors from this press are not just minor imperfections. They are severe, dramatic, and highly collectible. The types of errors recorded from this press are a laundry list of minting anomalies: major horizontal misalignments of the hammer die, off-center strikes, horizontal misalignments of the anvil die, and even a rare example of a dual misalignment where both dies were off. And let us not forget the uncentered broad strike, a fifth error type discovered later that added another layer of mystery to this coin's legacy. So, if you have a 2000p Virginia quarter, you are holding a piece of history from a press that was literally falling apart. But the errors from this specific press are just the beginning. So, you have grabbed your change. Good. Now, let us get technical. This is where the spender gets separated from the collector. You need to know exactly what you are looking for. The most valuable errors on the 2000 Virginia quarter fall into several distinct categories. First, you are looking for a broad strike error. This happens when the coin is struck without a collar to contain it, causing the metal to spread out wider than normal. It will be noticeably larger and have a smooth, rounded edge instead of a reeded one. A broad strike error, depending on its severity, can be worth hundreds of dollars. Then, there are the off-center strikes. If your quarter is missing a significant portion of its design because it wasn't centered properly on the press, you could be in luck. An off-center error of 5% to 10% can be worth $10 to $20. But if you find one that is 50% or more off-center, with the date still visible, its value can skyrocket to over $100. And of course, the double die errors. Look for doubling in the lettering, particularly in the inscription "In God We Trust," or on Washington's ear. A true double die is different from the worthless, machine doubling. It will have a distinct, crisp, and separated appearance. These can be worth anywhere from $10 to $25, sometimes more. But the errors that command the truly astronomical sums are the combination errors, the deranged press errors. These are the coins that exhibit multiple types of misalignment or dramatic strikes. For example, a double-struck Virginia quarter, where the coin is struck more than once, can feature a rotated ghost image of the ships over the primary design. These rare, deranged press broad strikes can be valued between $400 and $700. But we are talking about an $890,000 coin that requires an error so unique, so dramatic, that it is essentially one of a kind. We are talking about a coin that might be a triple struck, or show a massive misalignment of both the obverse and reverse dies. We are talking about a coin with missing clad layers or an incomplete punched planchet. For instance, a 2000D Virginia quarter with an incomplete punched planchet error was listed at $3,000. Imagine the value of a coin that combines several of these catastrophic errors. And this brings us to the value. Because the 2000 Virginia quarter is such a high mintage coin, condition is king. A circulated 2000D Virginia quarter is worth exactly face value, 25 cents. An uncirculated MS-63 grade might fetch $1.50. A gem MS-65 could be worth $5. But once you get into the stratosphere of MS-67 and MS-68, the value multiplies exponentially. An MS-68 2000P Virginia quarter has sold for over $100. A rare MS-69 example could sell for thousands. But we are not talking about thousands. We are talking about $890,000. That is the price of a house. That is a college education. That is a retirement fund. That value is achieved when you have a perfect storm. A pristine, high-grade MS-68 or MS-69 coin, combined with one of those catastrophic, documented, deranged press errors. It is the combination of extreme rarity, historical significance from that specific minting error, and impeccable condition that creates a coin worth nearly $1 million. The market for these error coins is incredibly hot, and it is only getting hotter as collectors become more aware of these hidden treasures. Now, I want you to take a good, hard look at the coin in your hand. Feel the weight of it. The standard weight is 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs anything significantly different, you might have a major error. Look at the mint mark. Is it a P from Philadelphia, the site of the deranged press? Or is it a D from Denver, which produced some incredibly rare unique errors? Look for the obvious signs. Is the design off-center? Is the edge smooth instead of reeded? Is there any doubling in the lettering? Do you see any strange lines or cracks on the surface? These are the clues that separate a quarter from a fortune. Remember, even a minor die crack can add $20 to $50 to a coin's value. A show-stopping off-center strike can sell for hundreds. And a truly unique error from that one Philadelphia press can sell for hundreds of thousands. So here is the call to action. Do not spend that 2000 Virginia quarter. Do not toss it back into the jar. Do not ignore it. You are now armed with the knowledge to spot a potential fortune. Take a magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, or even just your phone's camera with a zoom function. Examine your coin. Look for the errors we discussed today. If you find something that looks even remotely suspicious, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to fix it. Cleaning a coin will destroy its numismatic value. Instead, put it in a protective sleeve or a soft cloth. Then do your research. Look up comparable sales on eBay or through professional coin auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Great Collections. Consider having it authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. The cost of authentication, usually between $30 and $50, is a small price to pay for the potential of an $890,000 payday. The modern coin market is a treasure hunt, and the 2000 Virginia quarter is one of its most exciting targets. The year 2000 was a perfect storm for mint errors. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of coins across 5 new designs while simultaneously launching the Sacagawea dollar on a different metal alloy. Errors were inevitable, and some of those errors, like the ones we discussed today, have become the stuff of legend. The 2000 Virginia quarter represents a unique intersection of history, mechanical failure, an immense potential value. It is a ghost that haunts the pockets of millions of Americans. Will you be the one to find it, or will you be the one who spends it?